what's up, everybody? Welcome to Air Science. So we're going to work on the tides lab a little bit today. Sorry, I'm gone. Another sick day. First thing, you got to make sure that you did the cheat sheets from yesterday. I was in yesterday, so if you were or you didn't finish them yesterday, Monday, that's job number one. Job two then is to look at this tide lab, and we really got to start with a basic understanding of how it works. This cartoonish image is kind of helpful. Gravity from the moon yanks Earth's liquid water towards it. It pulls on everything. It pulls on the top of your head as well. Only Earth's water being a fluid, it can flow, right? So it flows up, and you get this bulge of water towards the moon. And then this gets complicated, but we don't really have to get too much into the nitty gritty. Because of Earth's spin and some forces, you get one opposite the moon also. So then if the Earth goes and does one full spin every day, it goes through a high tide, a low tide, a high tide, a low tide. You get all four. 2 full cycles per day, about. Now it's off by a bit because of other things rotating around, right? It'd be nice and easy if it was just 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, but it's not. And that's what you're going to try to figure out through this lab. So the first page actually isn't the first thing. The first thing is going to be plotting on this graph right here. And look at this terrifying amount of data. The good news is, out of all this, you're only going to plot in fact, I suppose it's this many. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to plot 9 points out of all of this, right? So that's a lot easier. So this is real data from when I made this lab back in October of 2018. So what I want you to do is look at the water level and look what's happening. And we're going to try to figure out where the highs and the lows are. So it looks like it goes, we're going up, 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 right? Where does it get to a point where it's at its highest? That would be the high tide. I'm thinking right about here. Right, so you could circle those. That yellow's not showing up super great. I'd say that's our first high tide on this chart, right? And then it's going to start going down, 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 down. Let's find the next low. Down, 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 down. Maybe 0.5, 0.4, 0.2. Oh, we get really low. We're right about there. 0.05. Does that look to be the lowest? Right? Then it turns around and it starts coming up, 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 up. That's all you got to find. And that's all you got to plot. So let's do one of those for you. I'll turn my pen to a bigger size. 10, 10, 2018 to 1436. It is 3.2. Now, I'm hoping, let me look it up real quick. What you can do right here, because the graph is sideways, is just hit that, then you'll spin it. All right. So then we got to go back and remember at 10:10 at 14:36. This is in military time, so that really means 2:36 in the afternoon. It's at 3.2. So at 10:10, that's right there. At 14:36, that's going to be, there's hour 14, hour 15, hour 16, right? So 14:36 would be somewhere right there. That's not my point, but just as a reference, it's up to 3.2 for the level of the water. So I come up to 3. Each one of these boxes is worth 0.2. So 3.2 would be right about there. There's my first high. Cool? That's going to be it. You don't need that one down there. That was just to talk about it. So you'll do that for the highs, the lows, and figure it out. Let me look back and just circle a few more. I'll do that while we're paused, though, so you don't have to watch it. All right, so I came back here and just got to the first couple. I skipped the first low. There you go. So there's a low, then a high, then a low, then a high. And then I'm going to have you pick up. So it goes down, down, down. You find the next low. Goes over to the next page. Try to find them there. Okay. I gave you a couple. You find a couple. And then again, to plot, I should have done the this one first, of course, at 10:10, at 8:36. And I'll rotate again. At 8:36, it's at 0.09. So at 8:36, it's at 0.09. That's pretty low. Right about there. Bigger dot. But you get the idea. All right, so there's your first couple points, first couple of spots on the charts. And I don't know if I loved it that low. And you're off and running. All right, what do you think? So that's going to be job number 1. Job number 2 then is going to be, how can we figure out how far apart these different tides are. So what are the dates and times of the high tides? All you got to do is go back and steal that. You've already done it. So dates and times, we don't need the water level there. What we're trying to do is think about how far apart they are. This is using a cycle and then predicting when the next one will be based on that cycle, right? If it repeats and it repeats and it repeats, then we could probably predict when the next one's going to happen, right? If we brought somebody that's never been into the school you're sitting in right now, they'd realize that every 40 minutes the bell rings and then 3 minutes later it rings again. They'd probably predict by the end of the day that that's going to happen again, right? We can do that with these tides too. If the low happens here and the high happens here and the low happens here over and over and over again, understand the cycle, figure out the time in between, and use that to predict the future. So if my first one's at 10:10 at 8:36, that's what's going to go up in this box. Right? That's my first high tide. When's my next high tide? I'm sorry, that's my first low tide. When's my next low tide? It was 10:10 at 21 even. At 21 o'clock, right? Again, that's military time. So now this part is always a little bit hard. It's figuring out how much time passes in between two times. So you got multiple options. What do you want to do? You could come down here, and people have done this. They've figured out how much time passes in each one of these little boxes and then just counted the number of boxes and multiplied it. People have done the same thing here. They go from dot to dot, say from this dot to the next low dot, and just count the number of boxes and estimate the number of hours that way. People have figured out how to do time just with arithmetic. The problem is that your calculator is not going to work. If you're tempted to write 21 or type 21 minus 8.36, it's not going to work because 836 is not 8.36 hours. There are 60 minutes in an hour. So your calculator won't understand that you're typing in time, and that makes your life a little bit difficult. That said, we got to get better at this by the time we do the end of the year, by the time we get to earthquakes, since it's our first day. If we want a little bit of a cheat, this time calc website has always been pretty handy, although it's not there. All right, let's find it. All right, so this is going to make your life easier. I'll put a link up to this on the sheet. If I have to go from figure out the difference between these two, that's why I drew these arrows. We want to know how much time passes from here to here. Again, count the boxes if you want, do the other thing if you want, but this time calculator I think is going to make life the easiest. If you put in 21 o'clock here and 8:36 here and calculate, as long as you click subtract, it's going to tell you how much time passed in between those two. So it's 12 hours and 24 minutes. And I'll say that even more valuable than that, which is why this website's really handy, is that one right there. As if we say it's 12.4 hours. That's going to be our answer right here. Now, the reason that's really handy is because once you do all three of these, we want to get an average, which is where you add up and divide by 3. Because there was 3 instances, right? 12.4 hours. So, do that for those 3, get the average, and then the idea, and they should all be pretty similar. The idea then is that if we know that the last one occurred at this time, and that they take about this much time to pass in between them, when will the next one occur? Well, it would just be that increment past that. It'd be another 12.5 hours, 12.4 hours past the last one. So you tell me how to predict that information. You can figure it out right there. All right, so that does it for all of part 1, which I'd say go. I'll do timestamps in this video so we can pick up in other spots, because then we got part 2, looking at tidal ranges and moon phases. So here's where you're going to need to think about what you did on the cheat sheet with spring tide and neap tide. The drawings kind of looked like that on your cheat sheet, and I advise just using exactly your cheat sheet to copy those to answer these questions when you get to it. But the idea is we want to look at the full and new phases and then the quarter phases and think about what happens to tidal range. So this graph right here, it's actually the same dates as what's above, but it's more than that. This was only a couple of days, right? This went from the 10th to the 12th of 2018. Now down here, we go from August all the way up through that. Here's what to notice. First thing, if you can notice this pattern before you get all boggled with all this earth science, then you got it. See how the range is higher here? The lines go up and down more, and then it shrinks down. The range is lower here. Then the range is higher. then the range is a little lower. Like back up and just look at it. You see how like they get further apart and closer together and further apart and closer together? That's the key to this lab. If you can spot that, you got it. All right. All I'm going to have you do is try to match that with moon phases, because we see when it gets larger, there's a certain phase. Even if this large isn't as large as this large, that was a correct sentence. If this large isn't as big as this big section, it still gets bigger there, and that matches with the moon phase. So what I had you do is to look for the new moon first, basically new full in the quarters, right? So starting from around August 16, where do we get those? So you don't even need, like, that's not even on this graph. And then past October 14, that's not even on this graph. We don't need to do any of those. What you're going to do is any quarter, new, or full phase that is around there. So do that one. I'll circle all of them. Let's make life easier. That one. Can't really tell where it looks the most full. Maybe that one. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to plot 8 moons down here. And all you got to do is draw exactly what's there on that date. August 19. August 19. There it is. Draw exactly what's there. Which, yes, we call those half moon cookies, right? But that's really a quarter moon because we're a quarter of the way through the process. Then do the next one on the 25th. It is totally dark, right? So here's the idea. During the quarters, you see how the range between high and low went down, and then when we got to the new moon, the range went back up. And then guess what? During the quarters, it goes down. During the full, it goes up. During the quarters, it goes down. During the new, it goes up. That will repeat, and it should match with exactly what you have in your cheat sheet and exactly what you're going to write on 5 and 6 right here. And range is the easiest way to look at it. Highest highs to lowest lows is one thing, but range. Where is the difference from high to low the greatest or the least? So here at the quarter moon, the range is lower. Here at the new moon, it's higher. Next quarter will be right about there. The full will be right about there. And that's all you got to notice is where the range goes up and down with those. All right. I'm not saying it's not a lot, but keep up the good work. Then you got some Regents questions down here to practice. We'll see how it all goes. Worst comes to worst, and I know that there's parts of this that are going to be confusing. Just work your way through the plotting nice and slowly. Work your way through that stuff. We'll catch back up and get you all together as I get back into the room. We'll see you guys all soon. Sorry I'm missing. And so long for now.